Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Military Spouse to Millionaire. We are going to talk about some shit today. I had something happen to me yesterday, and I quite literally rage recorded a podcast episode that I have since deleted because it definitely was not professional or appropriate for public consumption, but it felt really good to record. I have now calmed down a little and channeled what I was trying to convey in a little more toned down and professional manner. However, I just feel like this does need to be talked about, and it does still so deeply irritate me. I have notes here so I can stay on topic and not just go off on a tangent. I want this to be a productive episode for everybody. But real talk, you guys, yesterday I fired my first client for the very first time ever. I fired a client. And yes, if you are not aware, um, I, as a real estate professional, just because you come to me and would like to work with me and want my help does not mean that I have to help you. Now, 99.99999% of the time, I am more than happy to help you. I want to earn your business. I'll even fight for your business. I would not be the number 4 agent in the state by volume if I wasn't willing to fight for business and did a good job and worked very hard, right? So let's just establish that as a baseline. If you had asked 8 years ago me, when I was just starting out in real estate and had done 0 transactions, if I would ever fire a client who was coming to me with a $1.1 million listing, I probably would have died laughing in your face. But yesterday, it happened. And this really goes to the root of, I think, a topic that does need to be discussed. And I have mentioned fringely in some of my other episodes, and that is just the mutual respect that needs to exist between you as a client, whether you're a buyer or a seller, and me as an agent. And that's not any different than mutual respect that exists in other professional or even personal relationships. What I'm going to be talking about is not, it wouldn't have been appropriate personally. It's not appropriate in a professional setting. It is just a complete and utter disrespect for someone else's time on a human level, not even to do strictly with real estate. So I will unpack everything that happened and let me know. Let me know if you would have reacted this same way. I feel great about how I handled the situation, but just the fact that it happened, I am so taken aback by people's just lack of respect for others, respect for others' time, respect for other people's, business and just bandwidth. And, anyways, let me just get into it. So, the somewhat short version of this story is an agent who follows me from another state, from North Carolina, contacted me a few weeks back and said, "Hey, I know someone there. I believe they're getting ready to go to North Carolina." So she's been in touch with a person who's here on Oahu, and they're, needing to sell their house. They're doing some renovations. She thinks that this person is doing too much, too many renovations, doesn't know what to do, what not to do, which is very common. And if you know me, you know I love a good renovation. So I'm excited. I'm like, hell yeah. I will absolutely love to be in touch with them, meet with them, advise them on renovating, list their home, all the things. I got you. So she puts me in touch with this person. I reach out. We have a little bit of dialogue back and forth via text message. He says, "Okay, I'm going to get back to you with setting up a day and time for you to come evaluate the property." Great. I don't hear from him for weeks, 2 weeks, which again, fine. I work on your schedule. That's not a big deal. Then out of the blue, he's like, "Okay, I'm ready. Let's meet." Bet you. This was on a Wednesday. This past Wednesday, but by the time this episode airs, it might be a few weeks from now. So it was on a Wednesday that the conversation happened over the phone about "Hey, let's set up a day and time to meet." I said, "Okay, Sunday at noon." He says, "Great, Sunday at noon." Fantastic. I put it on my calendar. Now, I am recording on my phone, so I wrote down the timeline for all of this to make sure that I am as exact and precise as possible when talking about this. So, set up the call for Sunday. Then on Sunday at 9:13 in the morning. Now our appointment is at noon and I had just talked to him on Wednesday. So it's not like weeks and weeks went by. But I am, big on like sending reminders, confirming appointments, whether it's a phone call, in-person meeting, whatever. I send him a message at 9:13 on Sunday morning saying, "Hey, looking forward to seeing you today at noon." That's it. I go about my day. Now, I didn't hear from him, but I looked at my phone at like 11:01. He had read my message, but not replied. So I'm like, okay, 11:22 comes along and we're about 30 minutes out from our meeting time. I still had not heard from him. So I shoot him another text like, "Hey, didn't hear back from my last message, but I saw you read it. Are we still good to meet at noon?" Then that was at 11:22. At 11:37 on Sunday, he calls me and is telling me, "Oh, I'm taking my family to the airport. I'm not going to be able to meet until 12:30. Is that okay?" If I had nothing else going on that day, fine. Like I still would have been irritated because it's still just, again, that in and of itself is a complete disrespect for someone else's time. I had this, hour-long appointment blocked off on my calendar all day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I didn't book other appointments. I didn't take people house hunting. I didn't have phone calls. I didn't, you know what, guys, even if I wanted to get a massage, I didn't do anything else with that time because I set it aside for him. And the fact that I messaged him multiple times and then he calls me so casually, like, "Oh, I'm taking my family to the airport." The airport is not something that happens spur of the moment. It's not like, "Oh my gosh, my daughter fell off her bike and we're at urgent care." You taking your family to the airport was booked and planned in advance. You did not just have that happen all of the sudden. So, unfortunately, I did have a 1 o'clock phone call. And, if he didn't want to meet until 12:30, that would have only given us like 30 minutes. And that is not enough time to have like a whole listing appointment, talk about selling the home, go through the renovations. That's just simply not enough time. And I said to him, "Hey, I can meet with you for 30 minutes, but I would really feel rushed and I don't think that's a good idea. I'd rather give you an appropriate amount of time. What if we move it to a different day?" He says, "Great. I'm off work for the next 2 weeks. When do you want to move it to?" Now, there's another component to this because it's not just me going to this appointment. This particular client is on the fence about whether he wants to sell the house or rent the house. Don't worry, I got you. Landon, who is the agent on my team that handles my property management stuff. And he was kind of up in my rotation to be the co-lister if it were going to be a listing, or he would have helped me with the property management. So obviously he was going to come to this appointment with me. So then, 20 minutes before the appointment on Sunday, I have to message Landon and say, "Hey, I know you set aside time to come to this appointment, but it's going to be rescheduled for a different day. When works for you?" We have a Monday morning meeting, like me and my team, every Monday at 11 a.m. I had proposed doing it at 10 a.m. and then we could just come to the meeting right after. He says, "Yeah, let me get a hold of the babysitter, see if the babysitter can watch my kids." The Sunday appointment was fine because his wife was home, but Monday, his wife was working. He needed to find a babysitter. He texted me back a few minutes later, like 15 minutes later, and said, "Yeah, babysitter's on lock. We're good. Confirmed for Monday." So I text the seller, the client, I text him back at almost noon, like 11:57, 11:58. I text him back and said, "Hey, would tomorrow at 10 a.m. work? Please confirm." He types back, "Awesome, confirmed." Fantastic. The next day, Monday, I text him at 9:37 and say, "Hey, just confirming our appointment for 10 a.m. Now, I feel like that was very generous of me to even send a confirmation text for an appointment that we had made less than 24 hours ago. And then I get no response. But Landon shows up. We get to the house. We are like 9 minutes early. So I'm like, I ring the doorbell, knock on the door, no answer, but I'm not sweating it. Maybe he's in the garage, maybe, whatever. We were early. So I was like, not a big deal. I then see at 10:03 that he had read my message from 9:37 saying, hey, just confirming we're still on for 10 a.m. and had not replied. So then finally at 10:07, after we had knocked again, rang the doorbell again, we're literally standing on this guy's front porch for like all this time. We decide to, call it a day. We're like, okay, we don't know like what's going on. This guy flaked out on me yesterday. He's not here at his house today. Whatever. So we go back to my house. We just knock out some work shit until the other team members show up and we start our meeting. At 10:17, this client calls me and is like, oh, hey, I was at the store getting water, but if you guys are still close, you can come over now. And I quite literally was speechless. I quite literally could not find words to respond to this guy's casual attitude about the fact that he had just wasted my time 2 days in a row. And not just my time, but Landon had gotten a babysitter for the occasion, and that was wasting his time and money because he's paying this babysitter. So I quite literally said, I'm sorry, sir, you need to find someone else to help you list your home. You've wasted my time on 2 separate occasions now, and I cannot help you with this process. To which he said, are you really serious right now? And I said, yes, I am. Have a good day. It is not something that I am willing to tolerate as an agent. Someone having that degree of disrespect, unprofessionalism, disregard for my time. You guys, time is precious. Time is quite literally the only thing that we can't make more of. And while shit happens and extenuating circumstances and traffic making you maybe a few minutes late occasionally, like no one lives a perfectly on time life. That's not what this is about. But the fact that he did this not once, but twice, and was so like just casual and like laissez-faire about both times, and then tried to make me feel like I was out of pocket. Like, is this a real thing? Are you really not going to help me? Yes, I'm not going to help you. I help 80 to 100 families a year. I do not have time for people who do not prioritize valuing my time and my experience and my expertise and the value that I am going to bring to you as a client through my experience, through the education I can give you, through my networking, my marketing, the tools that I utilize every day in my business to be one of the top performing agents in my state. It is absolutely ludicrous that this gentleman was so, I don't even have the words, just so entitled, just thinking that he could do this and I was the problem, that I was out of pocket. Then literally like 30 minutes later, he texts me, Kendra, I apologize. Please still help me. To which I have not responded. He has called me 4 times and I have nothing constructive to say to him. I don't feel like me picking up the phone to reiterate the point that I've already made is worth doing. I was polite to him. I just simply told him that he needs to find someone else to help him. But this is definitely something that needs to be talked about. When you make an appointment with someone, and I'll tell you another quick story about a buyer who did something similar maybe like 2 months ago. When you make an appointment with someone, and again, not just in real estate, this is just, I feel like this should be like basic common knowledge that sometimes people, I don't know if it's like a lost art or like what is happening societally to make people think that it's okay to like waste someone's time, especially in a professional capacity. I don't have time. I don't have time for it. I have time to help and educate and guide as many people as I can get to in a year. And that's been a struggle for me. I have thought to myself sometimes when I reach kind of these critical mass points in my business and I have to then scale for growth, there have been times where I've said, okay, maybe I just put out there that I can only take on 80 clients a year. And once I get to that kind of 80 client a year kind of quota or like rhythm, like once I know I'm on pace to hit 80 clients, maybe I just slow down and stop. But that's not the mindset or mentality that I want to have. So I keep growing my business. I keep adding on agents. I keep refining processes because I don't want to just be able to help 80 people or 100 people. If there are 200 people in a year that need or want or seek out my knowledge and my assistance and my education, I want to be able to help every single one of you. So I scale for growth. But that also means that I'm not just sitting over here twiddling my thumbs, sitting on my hands, waiting for business to come to me. I have a busy calendar. I have a busy day-to-day life between all of my professional obligations, all of my personal obligations, taking time to do things that I enjoy, taking time to podcast. And it's wonderful. I'm not complaining about any of that. That's the life that I want to live. But it also means that I put a high emphasis and priority on my time. My time is valuable, just like your time is valuable. And as a client of mine, I try extremely hard to make sure that you know that I know that, which is why my response time is so important to me. If you have worked with me in the past or you're engaging with me right now, on social media, there is quite literally constant text messages between me and my team reminding them, hey, if a client needs something, you have an hour or less to reply. That includes Facebook and Instagram messages. That includes texts from clients, whether it's a buyer or a seller, when a showing request comes in. That is my expectation. Now, again, are we all perfect 100% of the time? Do things go overnight and get unanswered? Absolutely. But the standard is there. We strive to be a team. I strive to be an agent that responds very quickly, because if you've taken the time to send me a message, you have a question, you need something, you're concerned about something, I want to get you that answer as soon as possible to put your mind at ease or to answer that question so it's not boring a hole in your brain and you don't know the answer and it's driving you crazy. So I try very hard to exhibit that quality when dealing with others. And the fact that that is not always reciprocated is definitely very frustrating. So the story about this buyer, which this they make me equally as mad. I was gonna say one makes me more mad than the other, but one makes me even more mad. But they're the same. Both make me the same amount of irritated. About 2 months ago, I had a buyer and he was completely transparent and upfront that he was looking at all of his options. They weren't interested in renting. They were either going to live on post or they were going to buy a house. And I was like, okay, bet, look at all your options. That's fine. I even told him, I even have it in my text with this person. Hey, if you find a house on post, if you sign a lease on post, just let me know and I'll cancel our showing day. And he goes, of course, I got you. I would never do something like that. Guess what he did? Guess what happened? It's the day of showings, which I had confirmed with him the night before. We were still good to go. I sent him my day one of house hunting slide. I have the MLS sheets. I had Clayton spend his time running payments. I requested all the showings and got them approved by these other agents. We were going to see 4 properties. So those agents had bothered their sellers to get approval for those showings. Literally, I go to meet this guy. I normally meet people at the Walgreens by my house. We just jump in my car. We go house hunting. I literally show up at the Walgreens and say, hey, I'm in such and such vehicle. I'm in front of the Starbucks in the Walgreens parking lot, just so you can have an easy time finding me. He says, oh, we signed for an on-post house yesterday. Literally, I had confirmed with him the day before, and the same day he confirmed with me after telling me, yes, if we sign for an on-post house, I'll definitely let you know. I wouldn't waste your time. What happens? I show up at Walgreens, have 2.5 hours of my day blocked off where I didn't schedule other things. And he comes with that shit. Oh, we signed for our on-post house yesterday. It is absolutely unacceptable, you guys. And it doesn't happen very often. And I think that's why I get so angry when it does happen, because this is just like basic human decency. Like, think of other people's time. It's just that simple, and it's not that big of a request. Like, I try to be respectful of your time, you be respectful of my time. If you decide that you are going to be late, or if you decide that you're going to live somewhere else and don't need my help anymore, that's fine. But don't have me block off 2.5 hours of my day and have wasted subsequently other people's time, the selling agent, the sellers, and then the sellers are all excited because they have showings. And then I had to sit in the Walgreens parking lot and contact all 4 of those agents and say, hey, my client canceled on me last minute. Sorry, we're not seeing the house. Which, again, is not the issue. That's fine. But like, to do that literally at the time that you're supposed to be meeting someone, it just blows my mind. So I think that we could all do with just making sure that we show people the same respect that we would want to be shown if it was your time. If I, as an agent, did anything like that, I would have bad Google reviews. People would drag me on social media. And you know what? That's crazy, because you can do that as a consumer. And this is just like a general consumer kind of gripe. You can do that as a consumer. You can take to the internet and you can, go on Google and review this and review that and talk all this shit and say bad things. But when people do the same stuff to me as a professional, what recourse do I have? There's not some I was a bullshitclient.com website where I can go and complain and leave John Smith a bad review as a client. But John Smith can sure as hell go on Google and leave Finding Home a bad review. It's a very one-way street. And I get that that's just kind of the consumer nature in general. But it seems really unfair that I am held to the standard of be a professional, be mindful of other people's times, be, courteous and blah, blah, blah. But I just have to take it, and it's acceptable when people do it to me. It's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. And like I said, thankfully it doesn't happen very often, but this just seemed like a very appropriate time to remind people that no matter what industry it is, it doesn't have to be real estate, but the people that you take time from, they have other things to do, and they have other things they could be doing if they're not giving their time to you. So if you schedule an appointment with me, if you schedule a phone call with me and you forget about it, I get it. Like, shit happens, but I always confirm. And just be a little more mindful of the time that you take out of people's day. I'm always happy to give it. I'm always happy to give people my time. That is quite literally why I'm here. But I think pulling back the curtain a little bit and the wider world, like my audience and all of you guys understanding that time is finite. I'm only one person and I only have so many hours in a day, and I'm on such a mission to help educate as many military families as possible and help as many military families as possible cash in on their investment, sell their homes, talk about buying homes, renovate their homes. Every time that there is time blocked off on my calendar where that appointment doesn't happen, that is essentially lost time for me. And sure, yeah, I can go and spontaneously do something else, and that's fine, but I could have prioritized something of higher value with that time had I not had set it aside, to have that call or go to that listing appointment. So I think my main message, now that I've vented a little bit, is just to be respectful and mindful of other people's time and the fact that time is a gift. And every time that you decide to hop on a call with me or grab coffee with me or house hunt with me, I do think that's a precious gift that my clients give me. You're giving me the gift of your time. And I try to make best use of that. And I would just ask that all of you out there give me that same respect. Okay. I'm not sure how productive or helpful this episode was, but I do think it needed to be said. It needs to be talked about. And it's definitely okay as a professional for me to have that same level of expectation for clients. So thanks, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. As always, I wouldn't have any of this if it weren't for all of you. Bye, guys.